Good evening. Welcome to the celebration of the top 5% students and a celebration of academic excellence. My name is Bill Wingler. I am the principal, and I'm not going to say new anymore because I think I've been here, it feels like a long time, but it's only been about a year based on the year we had. First off, let me just say how excited I am, not only that we're here, that mom and dad and parents and family, that you're here. Our academic awards ceremonies, while they were enjoyable celebrations, we were missing you. And if you watched, I asked the students to give you a standing ovation. And I have to tell you, one of the highlights of this ceremony, in particular for me, is that I take great joy in the fact that you're here to celebrate the outstanding achievement of your children. Before we get started, I want to introduce some of the people here. Starting off with, to my left here, is Mrs. Jenny Pelko. She's our assistant superintendent. We have some board members here as well, and thank you very much for coming tonight. Mrs. Laura Wolfhausen. Mrs. Michelle Bissell. And Mr. Seth Roberts. Also, I want to introduce you to the assistant principals in the building, for which I would not have survived without them. They have kept me afloat when I didn't think I was going to. Without these guys, I definitely would not have had such a wonderful year. Mrs. Sue Harb. Mr. Eric Castle. And Mr. Sean Collins. And lastly, but probably most importantly in the back, if you know Mrs. Generalowski, 95% of what I get done is because she keeps me on track and cleans up after my messes. So thank you, Mrs. Orlowski, for all your help. So we're here tonight to celebrate the top 5%. And one of the things that just completely blew me away was when I started looking into the numbers, because I'm kind of a numbers nerd and I wanted to know, what does that mean? And I began to look at the GPAs and realized that a 4.4 doesn't get you even close to the top 5%. The number of high achieving students in this district just is absolutely overwhelming, and what an honor to be here and see their hard work come to fruition. And when I first got hired here, I was so excited until the day after I got hired, and I thought, with COVID and going to a school 4 times larger than my old school, wow, I just got hired here. What do I do now? And one of the things when I'm learning about the culture in this district is, and you'll hear a lot of this, is the Model Mustang. And I was trying to relate back to the Model Mustang and the characteristics and related them to your children. And the first one is innovative, and I was just kind of breaking this down. Under our guideline, innovative is imaginative and creative solutions to difficult problems. Another one is resilient, overcoming barriers, persisting to accomplish in spite of difficulties. Collaborative, works well with others, listens actively. Global, pledged to a higher community standard. And empowered, takes personal responsibility, develops and implements ideas. And I thought, wow, what an award ceremony to really celebrate the Model Mustang. Your children not only achieved the top 5% in one of the most competitive classes I've ever seen in my career, but they did so during a pandemic. They did so with every curveball possible thrown at them. We started the year hybrid in kind of a mini block scheduling. We were remote at one point. We went back to hybrid. We've shifted back and forth. And through all of that, your children maintained their GPA. They maintained their high achievement. And I've gotten to know a lot of them, and not as well as I would like, because I have to tell you, learning names is hard. Learning 2,000 names with a mask is impossible. But I have gotten to know a lot of them, and I knew a lot of them previous, and I have to tell you, their resiliency, and some of them have come to me with ideas on how to do things better. I hope you love our prom idea, because most of the great ideas that we had for prom came from students, not from adults. So tonight, we are going to honor not only the Model Mustang and the students, but the teachers that have shaped them and guided them and made them who they are. So the last round of applause I want to give is for our teachers who are amazing. Please stand up. Thank you. So we're going to start off with our first presenter tonight, Mr. Elias Asmar, who is going to Cleveland State University with a major in biology and foreign affairs. If you would please come on up.
Throughout my time at Strongsville High School, I've learned an immense amount about myself and the world around me from the numerous impactful teachers that I've had. Mr. Felton was, without a doubt, one of the most memorable people, not only including teachers, I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. I'd heard many positive comments about Mr. Felton from students who had had him before me, and I knew that he would be a teacher I would enjoy learning from. Going into honors chemistry during 8th period of my sophomore year, I had no idea what to expect. As soon as I walked into his class on the first day of school, I knew that this class had a different atmosphere. The memories I've encountered during Mr. Felton's class will not be forgotten anytime soon. From the classic lesson on the ins and outs of the homecoming dance to Mr. Felton ascribing foxyfluorine when discussing electronegativity, I invariably had a smile on my face during my time in his presence. It seemed Mr. Felton had never had a bad day in his entire life, because even in the most serious of situations, he always had a smile on his face. The review games that we would play in class the day before a test or quiz not only assisted me in my knowledge of the subject, but also they were an effective way to bring the class together and truly engage in inclusive group activities. No matter if Mr. Felton was in the hallway, in class, at a science fair, or at a soccer game, he always had the people around him happy with his contagious smile. Many times throughout my high school career, I can remember walking through the hallways and hearing someone yell, "Eli," quite loudly. 99% of the time, it was Mr. Felton. The moments like these are the ones that I'll cherish the most when I reminisce about my high school years. One of these notable moments was during the science fair in 2019 when Mr. Felton jokingly bowed down to his knees when I walked in with my parents. Moreover, there's no limit to the amount of compliments and praise I could give him. His vantage point on life has inspired me to attempt to live my own life to the fullest extent possible. Thank you, Mr. Felton.
Our next speaker is Mr. Matthew Cornelius, who is attending the University of Notre Dame with a major in physics. Unfortunately, Matt cannot be here tonight. He is competing at the GCC conference track meet, which is where I flew back from myself because my daughter's competing, and I know Matt is as good of a runner as he is at academic student, so he will be very busy tonight. I'm going to read his submission. It is difficult for we students to admit sometimes, but our best teachers are almost always the ones who demand the most from us. Prior to my Honors 10 English class, I was a student who, let's just say, liked to sit back and absent-mindedly take in the scenery of a classroom. But my relaxed attitude wasn't going to fly with Mrs. Stonich, and my first assignment was proof of that. I came to see her after class that September because I had nearly received a D on the summer assignment. My grade was in part because I formatted all of my source citations incorrectly. I remember thinking to myself, this is a serious teacher and a very serious class. I better work really hard to recover from this, and I did work hard. Standing here now, I can vividly recall walking from room 802 and feeling a burning sensation in my hand and wrist from constantly and furiously writing. Soon enough, my cramping hand and throbbing wrist paid off because my skills really improved. Mrs. Stonich set a kind of standard for me. It is because of this standard and how it became my standard that I am here speaking today. Now I can confidently say that she has had a tremendous impact on my appreciation of language arts and my respect for anyone who really challenges me to think hard and reach my full potential. Congratulations. Our next speaker is Miss Delaney Cunningham, who is attending Ohio University Honors Tutorial College with a major in English.
Hi, I'm Delaney. Mrs. Kern Swanson has been the most influential and inspiring teacher I have had in my academic career. The passion she has for teaching and helping her students succeed is clear through her unwavering enthusiasm about English and her students' successes. The way she places careful focus on discussion in her class is something that has really stuck with me ever since taking AP Language and Composition with her. She always emphasized the importance of hearing different perspectives when developing viewpoints of our own. I looked forward to attending her class each and every day because I would always leave the classroom feeling engaged and even more so enthusiastic about the texts we would read. The passion for reading and analysis she has the ability to instill in her students, she has had a lifelong impact on me. She helped me grow as a student and as a person, as she is always there for students when they need her. It is so important that the teachers develop trusty bonds with their students so that they feel at ease and excited to take active roles in the classroom. Mrs. Kern Swanson prepared me for the AP exam all year long in a way that, even through the challenges of taking the test remotely, I was able to earn the highest score I could receive. She also inspired me to pursue and explore English-related endeavors for my future and helped pave the way for my acceptance into Ohio University's Honors Tutorial College for English, where I will most likely be or will be attending in the fall. I plan on majoring in English in an intensive tutorial-style education while pursuing minors in film and psychology, two other considerable interests of mine. I want to thank Mrs. Kern Swanson for playing a paramount part in developing my passion for English and my successes in school.
Our next speaker is Mr. Nicholas Saranek, who will be attending, it's at Ohio State, with a major in computer science.
So I wrote something today, or a while ago. I don't like it. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to freeball it. I think this teacher warrants just something straight from the heart, so I'm going to do that today. So, kind of like Matt talked about, when I did English, like for my whole career, I didn't really care about English, to put it simply. I had some great teachers. I had Miss Kern Swanson, Miss Stonich are in the crowd right now, but, kind of like Matt, kind of just sat back. I'm a loud guy. I kind of just use it as like I practiced some, stand-up jokes, kind of try to make the class laugh. It wasn't really my interest, but, going into AP Lit senior year, something kind of just clicked. And I attribute that mainly to Mrs. Rose, who was my teacher this year for Lit. Something about Mrs. Rose just like controlled the class, like a class of really big personalities. Just she contained it all, but also let us kind of like do our thing in a way. And it was really good for me because like it turned English into like a book report class or like a book class and turned it more into something like, like I'm learning about the human experience. And I think that that's something really important going into the rest of my life really, is to see books not as like an assignment, but like, an expression of really like life and trying to understand the message that people are trying to convey. And I think that's really important. Mrs. Rose has always been there for me when I need it most. She always has the best of things to say about me, always tells me about my great control of diction, even if I'm not showcasing that right now. She likes to remind me, and she really made me feel like, honestly, even though for the first 3 years I didn't really give English much attention, she really made me feel like the English guy, like in the class. She made me feel like that was my strong suit. I went from a guy who loved math and science to like the English guy. I felt super smart in her class, so I have to thank Miss Rose for that. Thank you. Oh,
Congratulations.
Yeah.
He likes me so much, he's running away.
Congratulations. Great speech.
Thank
Great
you.
speech.
Our next speaker is Ms. Isabella Estefan, who is attending Kent State University with a major in history education.
Oh boy. These were the wrong earrings to wear today. First, I just want to congratulate everybody here. This is such an accomplishment for every student and teacher that's with us tonight. I also would first like to start off by saying that I had incredible difficulty writing this speech because I felt like I couldn't even express how much Mrs. Barba had an impact on my life and how she has an impact on everybody that she meets. But here goes. I had the pleasure of taking Mrs. Barba Minor's third-year Spanish classes last year. This class ended up being one class that impacted me greatly, which can be attributed to my extraordinary teacher. I first want to talk about Senora Barba Minor's incredible ability to share her knowledge with others. Her passion for the language and culture was tangible, and it was something that she manifested within all of her students. There was something very, very special in the way that she taught, because we were never forced to regurgitate tedious textbook phrases, but instead we learned culture and language through conversations and as many native speakers as possible. It was evident by the way that my classmates became incredibly fluid at this foreign language that her ability to teach was something remarkable. But I think the most remarkable thing about Miss Barba Minor and her class, however, was her ability to uplift her students. I remember looking around, and every day just about everyone had a smile on their face. Her positivity and goodness were contagious, and it rubbed off on everyone. Senora is the most caring, devoted teacher that I have ever had the pleasure of having. She never failed to bring a smile to everyone's faces, whether it was memes about her adorable dogs, bachelor recaps, or time to celebrate somebody's birthday, or just her infectious positivity. Right at the beginning of this pandemic, when anxiety was high and the loneliness of isolation had set in, Mrs. Barba made extra efforts to make each of her students feel and know that they weren't alone. I will never forget this. We would email her weekly or even more, just having a conversation, and her replies were so thoughtful. I remember thinking she had to have spent so long replying to us because she remembered every single detail of the conversation, and our emails would be paragraphs long to each one of her students. Senora is not only devoted to her teaching, but she's devoted to her students and their well-being. She's an incredible teacher and one of the most kind and generous humans that I know. Thank you, Senora, for the impact that you've had on me, my classmates, Strongsville High School, and everyone that has had the pleasure of meeting you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Matthew Fragapan, who is attending Purdue University with a major in aerospace engineering.
Hello, everyone. Firstly, I'd like actually to thank just all the other students in the top 5%. A big reason that I'm here is because of this high standard that has been set at this school. It's helped me push myself to become a better student, and I don't know what I would do if there wasn't such a high competition. Not competition, you know what I mean, but just the standard itself made me want to become a better student. Of all my teachers, it was a really tough decision to pick my favorite, but My most influential, I've come to determine, was in fact Mr. Klein. After considering all the teachers that I've had throughout my 12 years, Mr. Klein stands out as definitely my most influential and memorable. He had a way of communicating complicated math concepts to his students in a way that was easy to understand, and you could tell he genuinely believed that, like, in each student's potential. He wasn't there to just do his job. He felt that his job was for the student to succeed and not just to, relay the information he was told to. The lighthearted yet productive environment of his classroom was engaging and thought-provoking every day, and his frequent jokes and games made the class even more enjoyable. By teaching through example and explaining abstract concepts intuitively, Mr. Klein helped me discover my true learning style and most effective studying techniques. He was always in an optimistic mood, and he always offered to meet with me during lunch to help me understand a rough topic, which happened quite often. Honors pre-calculus, there were a lot of rough topics. As a very conceptual thinker like him, his tutoring helped me not only learn the material, but truly understand it inside and out. Mr. Klein embodies the kind of engaging, motivating, and humble person I would like to grow into as an adult. Thank you.
Hugh, Sarah. All right, our next speaker is Ms., and I don't want to mess this up, Malani Gadamanugu, who will be attending Baldwin Wallace with a major in neuroscience and applied mathematics.
Okay, so my name is Melanie. I had Mrs. Diedrich when I was in 8th grade for algebra. Although it's been 5 years since I've had a class with her, Mrs. Diedrich has had a fundamental and irreplaceable role in my academic career and my life. She's always been there for me and supported me, whether it was tackling various math problems in other classes, offering me advice about high school and life, or just being someone to talk to about books and TV shows. Being her student inspired me to want to pursue a career as an educator. As a student, I've always admired the passion she has for math, the kindness she shows to other students in times of academic adversity, and her ability to influence those around her. As a person, I've never failed to be in awe of her genuine kindness, humility, and empathy she shows to others, including myself. She's always been able to influence others around her to truly love and appreciate the complexities of math. I'm extremely grateful to have had Mrs. Diedrich as a teacher, and I'm honored to be able to know her as a person. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, Mrs. Diedrich, for all you've done for me. I truly wouldn't be the person that I am today.
Did I did such a terrible job on your name? Melanie?
Yes.
I don't know why I struggled with that. Sorry. Congratulations, both of you. And I did ask her 3 times and still managed to do about as bad a job as possible. Our next speaker is Ms. Marquis Globacar, who will be attending Case Western University with a major in biomedical engineering.
All right, hello. During my sophomore year, I met an enthusiastic teacher who helped me uncover my passion for science. I remember my first day walking into the classroom, curious about what was in store. I knew this teacher had several years of experience, yet he walked into the classroom He walked into the class full of energy, smiling, and was somehow excited to be in front of 20 teenagers. As the year progressed, I became more familiar with his unique teaching style. He periodically started class with a personal story, taught us a life lesson, or recanted a funny experience. As I listened to his elaborate stories, I couldn't help but wonder how it connected to our material. Nonetheless, he cleverly managed to link his story to the lesson of the day. I remember one time when he told us about his bizarre experience the day before his ACT and the crazy event which resulted in him walking for 3 hours to the testing center. All of the stressful events leading up to taking the test made him less nervous, and he actually did fairly well, or so he says. The message of his story was for us to calm down when taking tests and to approach them with an open mind. He admits to exaggerating his stories a little, but I particularly enjoyed his elaborate tales and how he always emphasized the importance of looking on the bright side and spreading kindness. His tangents made class more enjoyable, and I took some of his messages to heart. His bubbly personality and great sense of humor made the 48 minutes of class fly by. He created an engaging, outgoing learning environment in which the conversation could be academic or personal, and his contagious energy motivated me to learn. No matter if I asked him a question about intermolecular forces or he asked me about cross-country, I could always expect his support and encouragement. I genuinely looked forward to attending his class, and I was thrilled to find out he would also be my teacher for AP Chemistry my senior year. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm talking about Mr. Felton. Hopefully he sees this in the recording, but the confidence you had in my abilities motivated me to learn, and make me believe that I was capable of great success. His enthusiasm made me develop a passion for science, which helped me realize that I wanted to pursue a career in this field. He has emphasized the importance of connecting with people and caring for others, and I plan on having a similar approach to life. I hope to be as positive and as thoughtful as you, Mr. Felton, and I thank you for imparting your wisdom. Mr. Felton, you have truly impacted my life both inside and outside of the classroom, and I am grateful to have had the opportunity to be your student. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Timothy Heflin, who is attending Dayton University with a major in civil engineering.
Mr. Klein was the most impactful teacher of my education because he made it a goal to challenge all of his students and because he encouraged me in endeavors outside of the classroom. I would have been extremely bored with Mr. Klein's class if it had not been for his enthusiasm and additional questions beyond the basic curriculum. He gave advanced bonus questions and difficult worksheets that were meant to challenge his stronger students to work harder. He encouraged me to take part in some extra math tests and competitions. Mr. Klein also wrote letters of recommendation that earned me the rank of Eagle Scout and acceptance to university. Thank you, Mr. Klein, for making my time in this school far better than it would have been without you as a teacher.
Thank you so much, Tim. We're going this way. I'll just follow you. Our next speaker is Ms. Jordan Hamaki, who is attending Miami University with a major in math and statistics.
Hello. Back in 8th grade, one of my teachers handed me a letter. I opened it and found out I had been nominated for a Pride Award. I was confused and darted right to Mr. Klutzer's room to ask why I got it and asked him to take the award back since I didn't believe I deserved it. Little did I know he was actually the one who nominated me for that award. Getting that award made me feel as if I had made an impact on someone for one of the first times in my life. It made me feel valued and important, a feeling in which I'd find myself referring back to whenever I may have felt insignificant throughout my academic career. Mr. Kletzer is a teacher that is definitely a favorite of many due to his ability to make every single one of his students feel that same value and importance. In some of my brightest moments in the classroom, he would be there to reassure me that I was doing a great job. Even in my weaker moments, Mr. Kletzer was always there to ask if I was right or to tell me some cheesy joke to make me smile again. He always knew the right balance between having a smile on his face, making jokes, and making the material more fun to learn, and becoming serious to note the importance of something. One of his best qualities, though, was his understanding of individual circumstances, like for me, having to leave school for extended periods because of swim meets. I remember one time when I had to go to a national meet, and Mr. Kletzer made a deal with me in which if I made finals at that meet, then I would be able to ace an assignment, which I did. I've never met a teacher more concerned about their students from a combined academic, athletic, and personal standpoints. So for these and many more reasons, I am incredibly grateful for Mr. Kletzer and hope he knows the impact he has made not only on me, but on all of his students. Thank you.
Our next student is Miranda Lee, who is attending Washington University in St. Louis with a major in biomedical engineering.
Art expresses what words can never entirely convey, but in the next moments, I aim to paint a snippet of how influential of a mentor Miss Teresa has been to me these past 4 years. She is passionate and hardworking and caring and patient and supportive and generous with her time and expertise, but beyond all that, she has ignited a spark of accepting growth instead of attempting perfection. Before meeting Miss Teresa, art had started to feel like a dreadful assignment that upon completion was an utterly disastrous feeling and failure, and I began to resent any act of creativity. In contrast to my mind, her classroom was a safe haven in which no mistakes existed and no stray charcoal lines were unfixable, and nothing, no art style nor new medium was new, difficult, or intimidating to tackle. Miss Teresa never fails to see the good in all her students' artwork while helping us feel comfortable with being vulnerable and acknowledging our weaknesses. Her encouragement influenced me to address myself in a similar way without self-deprecation that empowered my inner artist to speak to the world. She has transformed art into a form of bold expression for me and truly wishes for each of us to grow and succeed. And for that and all her kindness, I am endlessly grateful. Thank you, Miss Teresa.
Our next speaker is Charles Lynn, who will be attending Case Western Reserve University with a major in biomedical engineering.
All right, so like Nick, I'm not really too satisfied with what I previously wrote a couple months ago. So I'm gonna go off the cuff as well. Apologize if I'm a little scatterbrained or if I, am not very coherent, but I'll try my best. So, before I go into my selection as the teacher that I want to honor for being in the top 5%, I'd like to direct your attention to the program. And if you look at all the majors that me and my peers have decided to pursue, I found it interesting that around like 90%, maybe even more, have decided to pursue a major in a STEM career. Yet, interestingly enough, more than half of the teachers here are arts, humanities, and English teachers. So why is that? Well, I can't speak for all of us. However, for me, Mrs. Bartell, as my AP Lang teacher, has had a profound transformative effect on the way that I view the world. Before Mrs. Bartell, I would view English as a bunch of busy work, tedious, hand cramping, quite frankly, useless. And I'm sure this is a sentiment shared by many of my peers. However, going through Mrs. Bartell's AP Lang class completely flipped my perspective on English as a subject. Because even though 90% of my peers and I will decide to pursue a STEM career, it's important that we recognize how vital it is to be able to effectively communicate and read the words of others. English is not simply just analyzing Shakespeare, picking out diction, looking at his iambic pentameter and what that could possibly mean. Quite honestly, it might feel like a lot of inventing when you're reading a passage and you're kind of fishing out rhetorical devices, stuff like that. However, the importance of English to me is not so much in developing good grammar skills, being an effective writer, although, that is important. To me, the importance of English is to teach us how to be human, to teach us how to empathize with others, see the world in a different light. And during the course of taking AP Lang with Mrs. Bartell, I was able to see the world in a different light. Mrs. Bartell, she incited very thought-provoking discussion, relevant topics to the world, which really got me out of my sort of selfish perspective where, maybe I'm not really thinking of others so much. And before then, I've always decided that I wanted to pursue a career in STEM. Right now I'm decided on biomedical engineering. And I think in the past, my logic for choosing such a career is that I want to be famous. I want to provide an innovation to the world, not necessarily to help people, but so that people know my name. Now I realize that that is completely wrong, it's completely unethical. And now instead, I choose to pursue STEM because I think of others. As we look at all of my peers going into STEM, we have so many problem solvers and so many problems in the world. However, it's difficult to seek out problems in the world because many of us are selfish. It's simply human nature to be selfish, and I'm definitely guilty of that. Sorry, I'm rambling. I'll get to the point. Anyways, Mrs. Bartell's facilitation of discussion about human nature, behavior, and otherworldly topics sparked me to be more introspective, yet at the same time more conscious of others. And even though I might have chosen to pursue a STEM career, my reasoning to do so has completely changed, and I believe that'll lead to even more positive change, even greater innovation in the future, not because I want to be recognized, but because I genuinely want to help people. And aside from making me a stronger writer, I believe that Mrs. Bartell has had a tremendous impact on shaping how I view the world and, how making me able to empathize with others and connect with others on a human level. And bottom line is, Mrs. Bartell has taught me how to be human. And that is why I've decided to honor her tonight. Thank you.
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. It was an honor.
Lisa, we'll keep your apple for you. See it? Okay.
We're going to let him walk slowly because my arms are a little sore from holding that computer. Our next speaker is Samantha Mcnabb, who is attending Clemson University with a major in biomedical engineering.
So at the end of my sophomore year, I decided to sign up for a course called AP Capstone. And the first part of that course is known as AP Seminar, and that is taught by Mr. Black. During that first week, I had to give a timed presentation about myself, which at the time seemed very daunting. But I actually used that as inspiration for my AP research study that I did this year. The reason that I chose Mr. Black as my teacher for the top 5%, he just creates a very fun, engaging learning environment, especially for a course like AP Seminar, which isn't your typical lecture-based course. Sorry, I forgot to take off my mask. In the class, I was not only able to grow as a writer, but also a presenter, like this. And I just felt that he did a great job creating a very engaging environment. I also got the pleasure of getting to know Mr. Black outside of school during basketball. He was the freshman coach and also helped with varsity basketball. And he is a very funny guy when it comes to the sidelines, always cracking jokes and making me laugh. So I just wanted to say thank you, because some of my favorite memories throughout the past couple of years have been with you, with Taylor Swift dance parties on our seminar work days, and and winning districts and sharing the giant group hug and holding up the trophy and cutting down the nets. It was just a great experience, and I'm glad I got to share that with such an amazing teacher. So thank you.
Our next speaker is Jay Oswal, who is attending The Ohio State University with a major in biomedical engineering.
Hello. Small correction, I'm actually majoring in actuarial science now. There are a lot of biomedical engineering students, so I understand the confusion. But a few weeks ago, the students in the top 5% were asked to write paragraphs about who their most influential teacher was. And when I sat down to write my paragraph about this teacher, I thought to myself, there is absolutely no way I can put into words the impact that she has had on me inside and outside the classroom. But I wrote the paragraph anyway, and so here's my attempt to put it into words. There are two aspects of Madame Vendetta that I admire the most. First, she places great importance on the actual process of learning, rather than on the grades themselves. Sure, grades come along, but but her emphasis on the process is very effective and not very common. Second, Madame Bendetta's unwavering belief in her students and her belief in me was truly the most inspiring part of my high school career. Oftentimes, students in the top 5% taking such rigorous courses can get bogged down when receiving a subpar grade on a test, or struggle with some skill or material. But Madame always makes it a good point to keep our heads up. It goes without saying that Madame does a great job at relaying information in a way that all students understand, while making sure that no student is left behind. But the best part about her, and the part that made her my most influential teacher, was her personality. I'm sure everyone who has had Madame for French class, or had as much as a single conversation with her, will agree when I say she is the kindest, chillest, and most caring person you will ever meet. Simply having conversations in her class never fails to brighten my day, and it's a class that I look forward to and all of my peers look forward to every single day. For the majority of this year, I was a SCS Connect student, which means I was sitting at home on my desk, and logging into classes through a laptop. And in Madame's class, I was the only student online. And so I would log into sixth period, sitting down on my chair with my blanket, and staring at the entire class, just me and my laptop. Imagine how awkward that would be. But it wasn't. She made it feel like I was sitting right there in class with all of my students. But finally, Madame Bendetta makes all of her students feel special in their own way, no matter what that may be. And that's what makes her special. So thank you, Madame. Thank you for being such an inspiring and influential part of my last 2 years of high school. Thank you. No problem.
Our next speaker is Mr. Alexander Sakalari, who is going to The Ohio State University with a major in mathematics.
So I also wrote a little something a while ago, and I too just found it really, really difficult to just try and describe at least what I wanted to put into words, and evidently failed, because just thinking about it and looking over it, like I would never be able to put it into words right. But I would say, and I would consider, that I've had Mr. Scott as a teacher for all 4 years of my high school, even though I only took his classes for 2 of them. After finishing multivariable and linear algebra, I worked with him to do a math competition club in my junior year, and I've stopped by his class ever since, in this year as well, and junior year, even when I wasn't working on the math competition club with him. What's always stuck with me with all the teachers that I've had throughout my 12 years in school is always the stories that they tell. It's maybe not always the material that sticks with me, as seen by all students kind of forget things, and we kind of lie to ourselves and say that, well, I'll probably remember this when I need to, but when it comes time, the information just goes in one ear, out the other. But I love the stories that teachers tell, and that's what sticks with me. And Mr. Scott has got some of the best stories. And he doesn't, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that he sits there and falsely tells us when he's writing out these intense and amazing math formulas and problems. He doesn't sit there and tell you, now this is useful because, no, he takes a step back from the board and he looks at it and he goes, what are we even doing? Like, what are we doing here? This is, like, what is this? You know, it's the humanity and the real aspect of learning math that Mr. Scott really captures. It's that moment of introspection where you sit there and you think, what am I doing here? And then you kind of have to rethink, and you have to think harder about math, and that's when you learn. That's when you learn math. And Mr. Scott's stories, everything from yeah, well, I think I wrote some appropriate examples to tell on this page. Not that he would ever tell anything that's not appropriate for, obviously. But everything, all of his stories always end in some message about life, even if it's just taking a step back and looking at things and saying, well, what are we even doing here? Sometimes Mr. Scott just tells a story and he thinks back on just not really knowing, like, why things get done the way they do, and why anything really gets done the way that it does. And that's also part of the way us humans work and the way we do things. It's just one wild ride, and sometimes you have to take a step back. And Mr. Scott has definitely taught all of his students that.
Our next speaker is Krish Sanjvi, who is attending The Ohio State University with a major in computer science and engineering.
Dear Mr. Scott, I assumed it to be a regular day. I walked into your third period BC calculus class, sat in my seat, and got ready for class. I pulled out my notes that contained random scribbled geometric drawings around the margins of paper. Then, out of nowhere, Mr. Mueller comes in and tells everyone to stand up and sing the alma mater. Everyone sang, "Hail to thee, Strongsville, home of light and truth." And when Mr. Mueller left, everyone in the class, including you, just stood there, flabbergasted that a high school BC calculus math class had been asked to sing. You told us that this happened because you greeted Mr. Mueller with a slight nod and a hello in the hallway, something a bit outside your normal and daily routine. This incident stuck with me, not only for its humor, but for the lesson it taught me. It taught me that sometimes stepping outside your comfort zone can lead to entertaining events. Your class taught me to expect the unexpected, because I didn't know what was going to happen every day. And for those of you who don't know, every day in the second and third quarter last year, our BC calculus class played the Krish movie game, in which everyone in the class, including Mr. Scott, would make a highly educated and enlightened guess of whether or not I have seen a particular movie. It was these type of new gimmicks and games that made me love your class. Before I had you as a teacher, I thought school was only for learning and education and nothing else. But you made me realize that sometimes it's important to have fun at school. So I'm thankful for all the cheerful moments you created. I'm thankful for the math you taught me, and I'm thankful for the boundaries you broke for me. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Our next speaker is Verdan Shah, who is attending Stanford University with a major in mechanical engineering.
Hi, everyone. I'm Verdan. The teacher that I'd like to nominate today is Mrs. Curran Swanson. She continues and was an inspiration for me. So her AP language class junior year was really, I think, the first time that I was able to appreciate learning for learning's sake alone and not for any outside extrinsic motivation. It was the first time I would think about a subject for purely that subject's sake and not really to if you think about the way I thought about math before too, it was oh, you use math to make something, or you use science to advanced technology or whatever. You use English to write something that convinces someone else. And that sort of intrinsic, learning an academic subject just for the sake of learning and for your internal and for your own benefit, just to increase your knowledge of the world, was something that I didn't have before. And I think that's something that Mrs. Curran Swanson gave me. The flexibility and freedom that she granted me and other students in the classroom to give me free rein to explore ideas I found interesting in a way that still met the goals of the class was something that I really appreciated and something that I hadn't really felt before. More than anything, she believed that not only I could do well, but more importantly, that I could do better. Remember the first essay I wrote, and I got the feedback. It was extensive, to say the very least. I think I got a C or something. It's not important, but what really struck me was how in-depth and how specific the feedback was. I remember thinking two things. First, wow, she really obliterated that. And second, that she definitely really read the essays and that she really cared. And the reason that she wrote so much on the paper and that you would see it and the paper would just be half your pencil and half just red ink. But it wasn't the red ink everything is wrong. It was the red ink of, oh, this can be improved, that can be improved. And it was awesome to see that she really cared so much that she would spend so much time poring over each and every word, every single word that was written that was really mostly just a scribble. Her passion for teaching, her drive, and her sheer intelligence and evident and formidable ability continues to inspire me and will inspire me every single day. Mrs. Curran Swanson, you are a teacher who changes people, and for that, I thank you. Your energy and enthusiasm, love for the English language and the human experience will stay with me and so many other students for the rest of our lives. Thank you for teaching me about how deep and broad the human experience can go.
Our next speaker is Merritt Tainer, who is attending The Ohio State University with a major in physics.
Hi, my name is Marit. Throughout my 12 years at Strongsville, I've been lucky enough to have so many incredibly influential teachers, so being asked to pick one was really difficult, as many of the students who've already spoken have stated. But Mrs. Bendetta, my French 3 honors teacher and my current French AP teacher, is particularly notable. I went into high school after hearing from a handful of upperclassmen that if you stick with French, you'll get to have Madame. To be a teacher and to be associated with the words get to have is pretty high praise from any high school student. Junior year, I got to see what Madame's class was like for myself. And I chose Madame as my most influential teacher, not because I'm like super good at French or I'm ever gonna use it again, but because she loves her job more than any teacher I've ever seen before. And she loves her students so much on a personal and an academic level. I hope that as I eventually find my way into a career, hopefully, that I'll be able to find the fulfillment that Madame does in her work every single day. And I'd like to say thank you, because to have a teacher that so obviously loves what they do is very, very special.
Our next speaker is, and Aaron, I apologize if I butcher your name, Aaron Tokaj, who is attending Johns Hopkins University with a major in biophysics.
Mr. Klein. So words cannot express how thankful I am to have had Mr. Klein as a teacher. Since day one of honors pre-calculus, I knew that his class would not only enlarge my knowledge and passion for mathematics, but also make me a better student and a person. Mr. Klein tirelessly worked every day to make the course material as simple as possible. The way he explained all the concepts increased my confidence in other subjects and consequently reinforced my desire to pursue a career in the science and math field. His way of teaching made me alter the way I think. Mr. Klein always wanted his students to understand the why behind all concepts, and their way of thinking made me able to easily succeed in all of the other AP classes that I've taken, and I'm certain they will do the same in my future academic endeavors. I can certainly say that Mr. Klein's class not only made me reach my fullest potential as a student, but also pushed me one step further to achieving my dream at attending one of the most prestigious universities. Mr. Klein was always eager to answer any question I had about the test and also explain any concept which I did not understand. I will forever be grateful to Mr. Klein for that. Mr. Klein pushed me every day to be a better student, a better person, and the motivation and determination that he flourished in me will certainly help me in my long, long 8 years of undergraduate and medical school. Thank you, Mr. Klein. Moreover, the letter of recommendation Mr. Klein wrote for me helped me in my acceptance to that college. And I cannot express how grateful I am to have had the opportunity to be mentored by such an amazing teacher and person. But what makes me more proud is not the fact that I got accepted to Hopkins, but is the respect that I got from teachers like him. Every time I go talk to Mr. Klein, he always has the kindest and most motivating words to say to me. That respect and those words define my success. I'm certain that everything Mr. Klein has taught me, academic and life lessons, will help me easily navigate the arduous path that I have ahead of me. And throughout that journey, I will never forget Mr. Klein. I will always remember him as one of the best teachers and mentors I've ever had. I can confidently say that I'm able to type in numerous pages expressing my gratitude to Mr. Klein. But I'm going to end it here, as it later stated, to write only a short paragraph. Thank you so much for everything you have done and continue to do for me, Mr. Klein. I will forever be grateful and appreciative of you. You are truly an amazing person and teacher. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ran Wei, who will be attending The Ohio State University with a major in computer and information science.
So the teacher I picked for my top 5% teacher is Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott's classes are always very clear and in-depth. His way of teaching makes math very intuitive and easy to understand, which really helped me retain the knowledge and connect it to other concepts easily. Mr. Scott's friendly and humorous personality also makes class even more engaging, and I always looked forward to attending his class. I also became more interested in math while taking Mr. Scott's classes, since I could understand the intricacies of different topics and the logic of various relationships. He motivated me to dig deeper about math and decide to pursue a math-oriented major in college, computer science. I'm very grateful that I've had the opportunity to have Mr. Scott as my math and now computer science teacher too. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Seth Welch, who is attending The Ohio State University with a major in computer science and engineering.
Good evening, everybody. First, I would like to congratulate all the students who are gathered here today. You have all done an amazing job over the past 4 years and the past 12 years of your education. Secondly, I'd like to thank all the parents and all the teachers who have brought us to where we are today. Now, of course, I have to pick one to thank in particular, and that is Mr. Andrew Knapp. Now, on the first day of school, when I walked into Mr. Knapp's AP Government class, I learned 3 things about him. First, it was his first year teaching at Strongsville. Second, and if I remember this number correctly, it was his 3rd year teaching overall. And thirdly, he had never taught AP Gov before. So, I'm sorry, Mr. Knapp, but my first thought was, oh no, I'm not going to do well on the AP test this spring. Now, obviously, if that premonition had come true, I would not be talking to you here tonight. I did fine. Even with the unforeseen circumstances of last year's AP test, Mr. Knapp stood up to the challenge and taught us all very well. Now, Mr. Knapp's class wasn't all serious teaching. We, of course, had some fun. One moment I'd like to share with you all is when Mr. Knapp informed us all that he had a club baseball team that he participated in. Now, in typical teenage boy fashion, we then proceeded to look up his team on Google, look at his team's record, and make some jokes about it to him. Now, Mr. Wingler, I'm not sure what the school's policy is when it comes to cracking jokes at teachers' expenses, but I'm sure if Mr. Knapp did not have such a good sense of humor, he definitely could have gotten us in trouble. So thank you, Mr. Knapp, for stepping up to the challenge of last year and being such an amazing teacher, and for having a good sense of humor. Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. One last thing, please. I'm sure all of you with the program have noticed that there are quite a few students this year going to a small little school known as The Ohio State University. So for all my Buckeyes who will be joining me in Columbus this fall, you know what to say. OH. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kevin Whitbread, who is attending, shockingly, The Ohio State University. Although as of this printing, his major was undecided.
Hello. I get this is the fourth speech on the same teacher, so I'll try my best. So before Mr. Scott's class, I was a good student. You know, I got the grades. I did the homework. I basically did what I had to do. But I never really understood why I was doing it. Like, I was basically just doing it, you know, to make my parents happy or to get the report card. But then I walked into Mr. Scott's class, and one of the first things he said was, "Welcome to math jail." And like, when I first heard it, I was like, well, at least he's honest. And then I was confused, like, why? Like, generally, like, the teacher's goal is to make us like the class. But then as I went through his class, I really started to gain an appreciation for it. And what he really forced me to do was actually appreciate learning for what it was. Like, before that point, I had just been doing it because I had to. But now, after his class and his experience with 3 years of him teaching me, is that the learning is what counts. And really, after I had his class, I wasn't doing it for the report card or for my parents or even to have the honor of standing on this stage. But instead, I was doing it because I really enjoyed the process of learning. And even though it certainly was boring at times, and it certainly did feel like jail, he really made me appreciate the learning that I did in his class. And for that, I thank you, Mr. Scott. Congratulations. That's right.
So to conclude, I need to visit Mr. Scott's room more often for sure. That's where all the fun is, apparently. So first, I'd like to say thank you to, I'm going to make you stand up, Mrs. Sherry Buckner-Salee, who also came from the GCC track meet. We introduced all the other board members. You have to stand up. Thank you for rushing up here from the meet. Her daughter was down there competing with the rest of our kids down there. So when you listen to the speeches, you know, there's a lot of common themes, but the most important one that kind of resonates with me is, you know, learning and education is definitely science, but there's some art to it too, a lot of art. And one of the themes you heard through there is we were challenged, rigorous learning, but you also heard a lot about relationships, a lot about teachers that genuinely care about the well-being and how their students do. And, you know, I think back, because I certainly am significantly older than a high school age person and can't remember that much, but I do remember teachers that cared about how I did. And I am both overwhelmed and proud of the fact to be a part of this district and hearing students come up here and tell you that they were in math jail and enjoying it, and their English teachers impacted them, even though all of them were pretty much science majors. I did also notice that. And we are blessed here at Strongsville to have such a strong group of parents, strong group of students, and strong group of teachers. So congratulations, Mom, Dad, and family. Congratulations to our teachers, and congratulations to all of our top 5%. Thank you. That will conclude the night. Everyone have a good evening, and we'll see all of you at commencement.